Hey! So, as a professional speaker, a speaker coach, and all-around presentation guy, if there's one very, very simple thing that I can say to you, it's this: the words that you use matter. And there is one word that many of you are using the wrong way that really, really matters, and I really, really hope that you will stop. That's what I'm getting into today. Stick around. Hey, welcome to Lead Loud. My name is Richard Mulholland. I am the founder and chief presentation officer of Presentation Powerhouse Missing Link. Now, this is going to be a different video. Although I think it's in play because I am talking about the power of words, and I think this is important. It's also going to be a little bit preachy. And I admit that I'm going to be breaking potentially one of my cardinal rules here. And that is that you should never be offended on behalf of somebody. Like, it's so insulting often when people are offended on behalf of other people because we kind of feel that they can't stand up and speak for themselves. And I'm not saying that. I'm simply speaking for what I think is a terrible thing, a terrible habit, and something that I hope will stop. So that's what this one's about. Preacher mode engaged. Stop using the word Karen as an insult. Like, holy shit, what is wrong with you?
Stop it. Get some help.
It's amazing. Do you know there are people here that use the word Karen that are offended that I just said the word shit? Like, we have prioritized swearing more than vilifying somebody's name completely arbitrarily. Do you understand that every time somebody turns around and says, oh, that person's such a Karen, I want you to stop, assuming that you who are watching this right now doesn't have the name Karen. I want you to stop. Stop. Stop.
Stop it! What are you, a nut of some kind? Don't do that.
I want you to stop and understand how that would feel if they were using your name. Somebody has literally arbitrarily drawn a name out of a hat. And I've actually looked into the research on this thing. It turns out it could have been from a Dane Cook comedy skit way back in 2008. But basically what happened, and I use this term as this was the term in the article I read, Black Twitter basically utilized the term Karen to describe white housewives that complain. Now, I'm not saying that people shouldn't necessarily complain to housewives that happen to be white. I'm saying that there's a fundamental problem if we are naming it with somebody's name and we're allowing that to happen. It's often said that the nicest word to hear in any language is that of your own name.
Say my name, say my name.
Like, it literally, when you hear your name, it kicks off happy hormones that put you in a nice place. I think it was Dale Carnegie that said, remember, a person's name is to that person the sweetest sound in any language. And you, as an adult human, you just took a big fat shit all over that person's name just because you want to be one of the cool kids using the cool meme words. Like, stop. You should be ashamed of yourself, frankly. But there's a bigger problem at play here. I want you to look at what's really happening here. Let's take away the name for it for a second. Let's give it another arbitrary name. Let's call it, like, I don't know, fidget cubes, okay? Oh, look, they're just being a fidget cube. But what's actually happening here? What's actually happening is we have found a term to utilize to shut down an entire demographics right to speak, okay? Because that's what's at play here. When you turn around and say, oh, stop being a Karen, what you're basically saying is stop being a housewife that is white. Because white housewives, and again, let's even take away the race, because I've heard Karens now used as other people as well. It's grown larger. But because when women speak in such a way, complaining about something, it's just irritating to us. So we're using this word as a way of shutting you up. It's unacceptable. You know, throughout history, some names have been killed off. Society has ended them. Like, there's not many little boys being christened Adolf or Judas anymore. Those names have died. Like, we're not using them. The name Karen or Karen is facing the same fate. Just go have a look, do an even small little Google search, and you will see the demographics of just how much this has changed. Basically, the name is on a decline because nobody wants to name their children that anymore because of what's happening here. It's disgusting and it's unacceptable. And we should all hold ourselves to a higher regard. I want you to stop for a single second and imagine that was your name.
Please don't say my name.
Imagine your name was getting killed off. You didn't betray the load. You didn't you weren't responsible for the mass genocide of an entire group of people, be a funny little word to use. No, we cannot do this anymore. As a society, we have learned that we can reclaim things, and I think we have to reclaim that name. Look, all I can tell you is that I know how I would feel. And if this was happening to my name, I would be devastated. I'm proud of my name. Like, my parents named me after Richard the Lionheart, which is kind of weird because he didn't like the Scots much, but you know, I'm a fearless leader. This is like, my name means a lot to me. I like being Richard. It's a good thing. I would be devastated if that changed. And I think that you would be too. So we shouldn't let it happen to somebody else. Now, I've not spoken to any Karens about this, but I cannot imagine this is nice. So, rant over. But I do think it's time that we help them to reclaim their name, right? And it's easy to do. It's very, very simple. The next time you hear somebody using that term in that way, just call them out. Just say to them, hey, you know that's somebody's name. Like, find another term, bro. Like, you don't need to use that. And then they'll be like, oh, you're being... They say no. And you're going to feel uncomfortable doing this. I understand that. You're going to recognize this discomfort. Right? For many of you, this was the discomfort you felt after you heard people using those words to people when you still didn't want to be the person to speak up about it. We learned to have those uncomfortable conversations where we would say, no, speaking like that is no longer acceptable.
That's better. Thank you.
And I understand, and I'm not everybody knows I'm the least politically correct person, and I'm certainly not a social justice warrior. But this is less about social justice warrior, and it's more about just being a good person. So, let yourself feel a little bit uncomfortable because I think it's worth it. We want to give these people their name back because they deserve it. And more importantly, we want to be aware of what doing something destructive like this does. Because the next name that people destroy could be your own. Have that uncomfortable conversation. And if you don't feel like doing that, just send them this video. I don't mind being that guy. But this really is one of those examples where I'm asking you to speak up and lead loud. Peace.